Captains of Industry, brought to you by Airtel.
Leaders tonight is someone who started a company on what some see as the most unique value proposition. It was a refund and a reward based on a percentage of an insurance premium paid. Well, that's the hallmark of OUTsurance, a company regarded as one of the most innovative short-term insurers worldwide. Together with two of his colleagues, they founded this company in 1998, and within 5 years, the annual turnover was over 1 billion rands. Willem Roos is our captain of industry. Tonight, he's the CEO and joint MD of OUTsurance. Thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.
All right, so you were an actuary at Aegis, apparently, and your boss said to you, go out there and find me something fresh, a new dynamic product. You knocked down some numbers, you did a bit of research, and you came up with what is now the genesis of OUTsurance. But effectively, you didn't give it to your boss. You went off and started a company.
Yes, I actually met Renee Otto. There was one of the founders of OUTsurance, and the two of us started talking and said, look, there must be a better way to do this. And then we got an opportunity to present our idea at the Aegis Shareholders Conference, where Larry Dippenaar from RMB Holdings was. And Larry said, this seems like an interesting idea. The two of you must come and see me. So we went to see Larry. I did lots of numbers, spreadsheets. Renee was the driver from a business point of view. We had Howard Aaron join us, who was our technology man, and we had a great plan which we showed Larry, and I'm still amazed how quickly the gents from RMB thought we had a good idea and gave us some capital to go and start the business.
It is a good idea, because a lot of people get sick and tired of paying insurance premiums, never claim on it, but they never see a dime of that money invested. I mean, some people would say it's a pretty straightforward thing that you tapped into, but the market had missed out on it. Why is that?
I remember well at the time, many people in the industry thought of a similar concept, but nobody actually went out and did it. And what you'll find interesting is we sold the idea to start the company not on the out bonus or return. We didn't even think of a name back then. We actually started the company with the idea we're going to deal directly with our clients so we can have lower costs. And on the other hand, we wanted to follow a very actuarial scientific approach. You know, that's where I came in, and we can calculate your premiums accurately, and that way we can give you a better deal. But then we started the company and said, hey, we've got a fantastic opportunity. What are we going to do differently to the players out there that really from a marketing point of view is going to stand out? And we thought giving you an out bonus, if you look after your stuff, we'll give you a portion of your premiums back. Made a lot of sense. It was a nice product to launch.
It makes a lot of sense for me, a customer, but financially, did it make sense? Was it risky? Many people say it was a risky proposition.
It was, but I think we did our sums carefully. Now, the one thing which a company like ours, our profitability is very sensitive depending on how long our clients stay with us. And in short-term insurance, people chop and change quite regularly. It's very easy to change. You give us a call and in a couple of minutes you've got a new policy. So we said if we can tie people in and incentivize the right behavior, even a small change in the length of time people would stay with us would make
So what's that? So that's saying that if you don't claim within 3 years, you get an out bonus.
Exactly. So if you don't claim within 3 years, you get 10% of your premiums back. And our estimate was, on average, people only stayed with their short-term insurer for 2.5 years. If we could extend that to 3, 4, 5, even longer years, that could make a big difference to the amount of money we'd make.
Timing is everything, people say, and you started this company around 1998. It was a fairly saturated insurance market, and just generally economically a bit of a depressed market. Some would say the precursor to this recession that we've just seen. What gave you the confidence to go out into the market under those conditions?
Probably the worst time you could pick to go and start. The insurance industry was in a loss-making position, interest rates at 25%. So, sometimes I wonder, a real entrepreneur doesn't think too much about timing. You rather think about the idea and how you're going to woo customers and how you're going to survive regardless of the economic conditions. I think if you spend too much time thinking about the bigger picture almost in terms of economics and timing and so on, you might miss opportunities. So we just went out and did it.
But you used an interesting medium. I mean, you went the infomercial route as opposed to above-the-line advertising. You targeted daytime TV. You marketed the product there. And somehow it worked. But people say it was the most unglamorous start.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that one for 1 second. But we're great experimenters. Infomercials at that point in time was cheap. Gee whiz, you could get in half an hour on television at far less cost than a 30-second spot in primetime TV. So we thought it was a way to get our brand out there. We approached it maybe in a bit of an irreverent and in a fun way, and it reached people and was effective. But we always measured our marketing spend very carefully to make sure that it generated the business so we could be profitable.
I mean, obviously we're living in the age of social media, so some wouldn't argue why you went the TV route to really get the message out there. But the infomercial route, I mean, who's watching TV between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m.?
You know, it's an interesting statistic. If we look at our split between, because I think the first reaction might be stay-at-home moms and so on watching, and they don't always make the insurance decision. The split between male and female is in our normal business is virtually dead on 50-50. And business we get from infomercials is no different. So I think there are many people, I don't know, maybe sitting in the office watching the infomercial, or maybe people phone us thinking that we can stop the thing eventually if they give us a I don't know, but it worked. It worked.
If you could do anything differently in hindsight, would you?
Yeah, there are many things we would do differently, but I don't really think we made a big blunder, a big mistake. And I'm somebody who like to think about the past and learn from your mistakes, but I don't dwell on the past. So I think in all we've been pretty fortunate. Sure, we made lots of mistakes.
Yeah, 1 billion rands within 5 years. You were very fortunate.
We were, and South Africa was good to us, and so forth. Yeah. But on balance, I think we made the most critical decisions were the right ones.
Okay, let's talk about the future. And now you've added business OUTsurance to your portfolio, and I know that there's talk, for instance, of maybe going into the long-term insurance route. What does evolution mean for your company?
I think the vast majority of our resources still goes into improving our existing business. I think if you really want to become a successful business in the long term, you have to continually innovating in your core business and remain focused. However, having said that, we've built a good brand, and if you can extend it to natural other products like business insurance and life insurance, certainly one should do that. So we've become a significant commercial insurer. We've really built up our expertise there, and a lot of the same principles we used in personal lines for cover for individuals, we do it for small and medium-sized businesses, and we hope to do that in the life insurance space. We have actually launched in October last year, and our life insurance offering is doing pretty well, quite a bit better than we expected.
You know, life insurance in South Africa in particular is a bit of a tricky business. I know that the industry has taken on a life form of itself, but with issues like AIDS, for instance, it's become a very different kind of product that you're offering people. In the middle of a recession, for instance, that we've just come out of, the first thing to suffer are insurance premiums. People say, I don't have an extra 700 rands to be throwing away at something that I can't actually see.
Exactly, and the vast majority of South Africans don't buy nearly enough life insurance, and if they should die or become disabled or become sick, they're going to be quite a financial burden on their families, and their families can't be taken care of. Hence, if we can offer a value for money product, look, we can't solve the problems of the world, not at all. But if we can offer value for money to clients, at least people can buy some sort of cover. And if we calculate our premiums accurately, we give great service, our product covers the risks it should. I think there's a good business opportunity, and the business will also add value to the community.
You know, if I was president, I will be one day. If I was president and I was sitting with you, my first question to you is, explain to me why South Africans don't save. Explain to me why it is that South Africans don't see the value of taking on insurance or retirement annuities, because ultimately they become a burden on the state. This is a huge quandary that the country's trying to reckon with. What would you say?
Yeah, that's not only South Africans. The Americans and the whole of Europe and so certainly have similar problems. It's human nature. You want things now instead of saving it and delaying the gratification. But certainly I think the solution to that is just to educate people, get people to have jobs, to become more wealthy, to understand financial products, I think something like the introduction of the national credit regulator was a very good thing, to limit the amount of debt you can get, and putting all of those things in place. There's no simple answer, and it's going to take a generation to fix it.
How much of the work that you do, I know that you keep on saying you must always be researching your business. Everybody always quotes that statement from you, but how much of the work that you do is public education?
We, as part of a signatory of the Financial Sector Charter, spend quite a significant amount on consumer education. We have an industry initiative where we go out into various previously disadvantaged areas together with other industry players and educate people on financial services products, and then more so on short-term insurance. And maybe our infomercial also plays a bit of a role there. You know, it's a part selling, but also part educating and helping people to understand.
I like that you always get something out. You always get something out. The next phase of your business growth, I mean, obviously by the latter part of 2010, the headlines were dominated by the restructuring and the sale of the stake by first Rand to RMB, and then RMB disposing of some of their insurance and banking assets, and what that means for OUTsurance. Investors started speculating, are we going to see OUTsurance as an independent listed company?
OUTsurance really functions as an independent company. We have a very large shareholder in the newly formed Rand Merchant Insurance. We have no plans to list at this point in time, and there's also no drive from management or from me to have the company listed separately. We basically don't want to sell any of our shares, and we don't have a need for capital now. In future, that might change. We're quite comfortable where we are, but we certainly need to function as an independent company. We need to stand on our own 2 feet and so on.
So no listing in the short term?
No listing in the short term, no.
Any Pan-African growth plans?
We have a relatively sizable operation in Namibia, and we've really investigated quite a number of countries in Africa. I've spent a bit of time in Nigeria. We've been to Kenya, Tanzania, Mauritius, etc. The issue at this point in time is just that the African short-term insurance markets, particularly for individuals, are still very small. Yeah. But it's going to change. I think in 10 years' time it's going to look different. So we're keeping our finger on the pulse there, and we're very excited to go there once just the markets are of a size that it's worth our while to explore.
All right, we'll continue talking about what expansion would mean for OUTsurance. We're speaking to the CEO of OUTsurance, Willem Roos, a guy from Petersburg. For our viewers outside of South Africa, I'll explain to you what it means to come from Petersburg. Do stay with us.